not going to get a second chance in the game.
Coaches, welcome back. Today we're going to talk a little quarters coverage. Now, this topic is inspired by my latest trip out to Avon, Ohio. Now, Avon is, well, they're listed as Max Prep's #2 team in the state, coming off back-to-back state titles in Division II. They're in Ohio, and their defensive staff is doing an incredible job. Well, heck, obviously their whole staff is doing an incredible job, but I visited their defensive staff where 3 of their coaches did presentations. And 2 of the 3 have already released, and the 3rd will be coming out here shortly in the next few days. But they base out of quarters coverage. Like, that's the base. They're going to run a lot of things. They're pretty highly multiple defense. So they're going to run a lot of coverages. They're going to do a lot of 3 under, 3 deep stuff, especially when they blitz. But quarters is the base. Now, if you're familiar at all with how I usually do these things, I like to really focus. I'm really gearing towards the newer football coach, right? Especially maybe even a guy that's a youth coach or just learning how to coach or starting to understand. That's usually where I gear things. But I will start to get a little bit more advanced in this video. If you're a true expert, at the end, I'm gonna clip in at the end the time I spent with Avon defensive coordinator Jared Cicchetti on the whiteboard, where he really covered his quarters checks, right? So you just hear it straight from his mouth. Now, we were going live. I was trying out the live feature on YouTube, so the quality's not real great. But for you guys that are advanced coaches, and I would get to that point, get to that part of the video eventually, if not now. But I'm going to kind of walk you through quarters. And I think it's important to step through this because these are things that I didn't learn probably till fairly late in my career, and likely because I was not patient enough to sit through something and listen like this, right? Shame on me. Fortunately, most guys aren't as impatient as I was, but sometimes they're still out there, man. Let's walk through quarters coverage. Now, generically speaking, quarters is deep 1/4, right? So if I just, if we draw up 1 quarters, right? So 4 of these straight across. And my 4 DBs are responsible for the 4 deep quarters, right? That's how we got the name quarters, quarter of the field, right? Not deep thirds, but deep quarters. So generically speaking, each of your 4, let me see, let's go ahead and make another one. Each of my 4 DBs would backpedal, and I'm responsible for anything deep in my quarter, anything deep in my quarter, and so on across the field. Now, that is quarters at its absolute most generic. Generally speaking, once you get into, who am I to say what level should play what coverage? There are situations where you can play just a generic quarters coverage. With a little bit more work, a little bit more attention to detail, you can start to play it at a slightly higher level. Generally speaking, when I say something is at a higher level, it means there's a few more if-thens you're going to apply. But if you can learn, or if I can teach and get my kids to learn these if-thens, we're going to be able to play more passing concepts. We're going to be able to play those tighter. We're going to be able to match up more of those. We're going to be able to almost take away some more of those. All right. So that's really what I mean by more advanced, not necessarily have anything to do with what level of play you have. If you can teach it, then you can use it. I do think, if you know me at all, be realistic with yourself on how much you can teach. So quarters at its most generic is 4 deep. Now, let's go to their base quarters coverage. They call theirs mod, and that's just the name of their call, though more specifically, mod refers to the technique that a corner is going to play on this #1 receiver, right? So inherently, their quarters coverage it's a split field coverage. So whatever we're playing on this side of the field, we don't necessarily have to do the identical thing on the other side of the field. So with the Avon guys, they might have, they have a handful of checks. So they could be playing this variation over here and a different variation of quarters over here. So let's cover their mod call. Their mod call takes a corner one-on-one He's man on demand, as it's called, or man on if this guy goes deep. If he goes deep, that corner knows that's my man. The only thing I won't really chase is anything super shallow. If this guy goes screaming across the field, I will leave that, and I will be more of a zone player. But anything else that goes deeper, he's my man. And now my outside linebacker here, for Avon, that's their star. And my safety, either one of us could cover number 2. And this is their base quarters check. So this is kind of, instead of a generic quarters, this is more of an overall base quarters. If number 2 were to go outward, run anything toward the flat, the star is going to take that. So if the star reads pass, he will then begin to drop and look to take number 2 on the out. If number 2 presses vertically, okay, I should probably just be using arrows. 2 presses vertically, then the safety will match up with that vertically, right? Now, most routes don't just go vertical. They might then break inward and or outward, right? So they could go either way once they're going vertical. But once it presses vertical, that safety will match up with it, okay? If number 2 does not press vertically, then as they teach it in Avon, the safety is going to then man up or help to double in the direction of that number 2 receiver's route. So if that number 2 receiver breaks outward toward the flat, then the safety here would then look outward to help almost double team number 1. Okay, he's going to help on number 1. If number 2 comes shallow here, well, we're going to shuffle secure. So I'm going to shuffle inward to make sure that he's not coming some sort of quick inward and then pressing back vertically. I got to make sure he's not doing that. But when I know he's not doing that, now I can look to secure some sort of dragger or crosser coming over the top of that. Okay, so notice how, here's what I like about that. That's going to put me as I shuffle secure, I'm in a good position to help on, if this were to become some sort of backside post, I'm in a good position to help on that. Or if that is not a backside post, then likely the next threat is coming from this direction. So I'm in good position to help on either of those if that man breaks inward. So that's quarters at that next base level. That's how they want to play it. They want to get away with playing that as much as they can. And then they will do some other variations as needed. But let me just make sure. Yep. Okay. Now let's cover, now you've got palms. Now, palms is a pretty popular coverage. You can find plenty of information online about palms, but just to give you your base, what does palms look like, right? You could be known as like trap as well. They're trying to trap number 2. So both the corner and the safety now are reading number 2. Now you might want to use this if you are blitzing more people or you don't have as much help from this outside linebacker, because for the most part, when it comes to palms, you're really it's their 2 against your 2. You can cover their 2 men with 2 men. Okay. Now, as soon as number 2, if he presses to the flat, then these 2 are switching jobs. The corner and the safety are both reading. That's why I call it palms, reading. They're both reading number 2. The corner and the safety, they both have eyes. So on go, the corner is going to back up. Generally speaking, he'll have his shoulders in, shuffle, break on that route. And when this man breaks to the out, the safety then will take that number 1 receiver. So they switch. Okay. If number 2 does press vertically, if he does continue to press vertically, then these 2 just match up. The safety takes that number 2 and the corner takes number 1. So that's palms. Now, it is not as easy done as it is said. And that's because this outbreaking route can get cloudy sometimes. And what coaches fear with palms is some sort of late breaking route. The corner thought that he was going to take number 2, and the safety thought, well, he's gone vertical enough. I need to match up with him. And what happens is this man ends up, don't want that, this man here ends up running alone. right? And so now he's by himself vertically, and it's an easy touchdown, right? So a huge play that's going to hurt you. So that would be the downfall of palms. Now, the last thing, now they probably have a few more variations, but one of their last variations is, well, they call it maze, but that's when they're going to try to get away with double teaming when you have a number one receiver that they think you could hurt you. If that's the guy they're fearing in a certain down and distance, they will double team this man. Play him tight, and he can man him up underneath. The safety's going to stay over the top of him to double team, and then they will just match this up right here, right? This will be actual man coverage. Let's just go man to man, right? So they've got options on how they play their quarters coverage. Okay, some things I would consider. Things to consider when deciding what to do. Let me go back to my slides because I think this part is important. Again, stick around afterwards. You'll get to sit in on the time I spent with Coach Cicchetti right there on the whiteboard. And so if you're interested in that, stick around for that. But these are my thoughts when it comes to, okay, which of these types of the quarters coverage do I want to play? So keep these things in mind. First of all, what is your philosophy? So I use this one as an example. For many years ago, I developed my own offensive philosophy, and it really came down to we want to shoot ourselves less often than we shoot them, which meant I was taking on an extremely conservative style of play, and I wanted all my decisions came back to that one philosophy, meaning was the priority being mistake-free? So our priority was mistake-free. So we established that's who we are philosophically. So we want to make sure we match our schemes to that. So who are you philosophically as a defense? Are you, we keep everything in front of us and we want them to just have to snap it again? Then you would want to stay as generic as possible. Are you a guy where we say we want to bring as many guys as possible and we want to be able to man up as often as possible? Then you would want to play palms, right? So who are you philosophically? What do you like to do? Match it to that and run it like that. That's how you I would think, right? I'm just giving my opinions. I think that's how you should do it. What's your philosophy? And does your answer and are your schemes lining up with that? Next, what are your priorities? Which is kind of the same, but what do I prioritize? Am I prioritizing, I want my kids to be aggressive and we are prioritizing getting pressure, right? If I'm prioritizing getting pressure and I want to be aggressive like man concepts, right? Then that's what I'm going to choose. If I love getting pressure and I'm going to force you to dump some things off underneath and I'll stay over the top, all right, then I can run a generic. So those two kind of go together, but I felt like they were slightly different. What's my philosophy? What are my priorities when it comes to defense? And then lastly, how much practice time do I have, right? Do I have one platoon players where they play only defense? Well, then I can run more. Do I coach youth football, 6th graders, and I get my kids 2 times a week? I mean, I would run one coverage. That's what I would do. So those are things to consider when it comes to which of these would I like to use. Hopefully there's something in there that you can use. Appreciate you guys joining me today. My trip to Avon was awesome. And next week, I head down to the Atlanta area to visit Grayson High School, one of Atlanta area's top ranked teams, according to Max Preps. Do you love coaching and you're really anxious to be good, or you're really anxious to move up on your staff, or anxious for your teams to win more games? You got to be a junkie. And that's why I built this channel and have been developing these resources for over 10 years. So be sure to check out Join. Click Join. We've got 3 options. The basic package, you get to see mic'd up practices and a select group of videos from our main library. $7.99 gets you the entire library from 2025 to before. And $29.99 is that game changer level, and that's where you get our latest, right? So the things that are just coming out this month, they go to game changer, and in about 6 months, they'll kind of move over into that touchdown realm where you can access it for $7.99. So be sure to check those things out. Leave no stone unturned, man, if you're anxious to take a step forward coaching. It's like base level teaching quarters to
Yep.
your guys. What's
So
how you starting?
pass game, run game.
Let's start alignment rules.
Okay, alignment rules. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw. I know everybody has different letters for people, right? We use X, F, Y, Z, right? Q and H, right? So alignment rules. Just talking our front, right? Individually, right? We have an end who's a 5 technique. We have a nose who's a 2-eye, so a 5. We have a 3 technique, and then we have a 5 technique on the backside here. Now, when we talk about gaps, okay, there's 2 ways people do it. We call our field, so if we give, all right, display some hash marks here. If we call this the field here, right, we call him the star, and we call him the Will. We call this guy Sam. So Sam, star, Sam, Will in this picture. So we call these 2 our apex defenders, right? All 3 of them have to know how to play in apex defending. Obviously, your apex defender, right, is working, you know, your guy who you line on, and then man on line of scrimmage. So a lot of teams, when they play stuff like this, they will fold him into the B gap, which we will, right? Obviously, with our gaps, you know, if we just stayed in our true base quarters, where C, B, A, C, and our Sam can be our A gap. Now, depending on splits and things like that, we think this can get a little hairy. This guy folding in, we've done it in the past. We've game planned it to that be if we got guys who like to bounce, but for the most part, right, with our guy here, we rather play this guy what we call a lag technique. So we'll line him head up almost, right? He'll be almost head up. He's a B gap defender. Okay, but if this tackle is hell bent to sift or block down in some forward fashion, you can get hands on and play the B gap from behind, and this is going to be our C gap defender, right? So with that being said, that's got kind of our alignment there. All right, our corners, depending on who they are, our corners coach will give them, depending on call, right, we'll give them freedom to press, to play off, right, that piece. So our corners, right, are not on number 1, and our safeties relate to 2. All right, so in this picture here, we call this mod, or man on the man, just so everybody knows it's man, right, they kind of get the picture. Some people, mod, right, in the saving world, I think people call it sky, right, it's got kind of the coverage. So and that's kind of where we base everything off of, right, is our base call is mod. So now, big thing to know about quarters is it is split field, right? So this half of the field does not have to run with this half of the field is running, right? If you got a stud receiver on this guy and you want to double team somebody and not leave your corner alone, we have the ability, right, to change up what we're doing, how we do things on this side, and just run a base quarters coverage over here if we wanted to. So let's say if you had a stud receiver at X, we wanted to get a double on X, we would make, this year we called it a maze call, right? Right, so we would call it a maze call, right? So we always do everything with M's, right? So everybody knows it's in the same category.
And what's MAZE stand for?
MAZE, nothing at all, right? So nothing at all. What? So like when I think in that session, right, we have buckets of information. Yep. Our quarters. So if it is a 2x2, right, set, we use all M words. Right? And if it is a 3x1, we use all S words.
Oh.
Right, so our kids get start over again.
If they go 3x1, then it's S's.
S's, yeah. So we can play things a bunch of different ways, right? So we can play mod, right, which is your, right, would be 1, which is your, you know, you're reading 2 to 1, right? You can either lock them up or you can play off, right? Mm-hmm. Man on the man, right? Take everything man wherever he goes, right? Unless he goes underneath, or man on deep, whatever, you know, people want to call it, right? But any shallows, we let him go. After that, he's manned up, right, for our corners. All right. Same thing with our safeties here, right? He knows he's man on 2, right? Unless 2 goes out. 2 goes out, the star will take him just like, all right. So those are just like general rules. So he'll take them out, and then we always tell our safeties, right? So we always tell our safeties, right? You're locked on 2. And 2 will take you where your next double is. So if 2 goes out, we're doubling 1. if 2 goes shallow, right, we gotta shuffle secure him to make sure he doesn't do one of those, right? But once he declares he's really going shallow or going across shallow, right, then we can zone off and help on any crossers. So that was mod, right? Where we're at there, right?
Yeah,
Now we're playing, now if we want to change it to that, we would call Mo.
but your default is this.
Yeah, that's our default is mod, right? So now, right, if we're playing Mo, right, which is trap 2, right? So if you have 2 go out, right, corners will trap, he'll snap on top of 1.
Yeah.
So that's why, so let's say we got a lot of vertical out on the boundary by a team, which teams will run a lot of vertical out on the boundary, right? Hey, boundary side this week, we're gonna be running a lot of Mo, so
Yeah.
palms.
Yeah.
Right, so palms, we're running a lot of palms, right, on this side, right, they like to take many different route combinations or whatever it may be, right, we're gonna run mod, right? If they wanna run a bunch of smash concepts, right, we're gonna run mod and get a double team on the smash concept in mod. So there's many different reasons why we choose what we want. We have this many ways played 2 detached. So, and if we wanna run one thing here and one thing here
Yeah.
because they got a stud receiver and still wanna play quarters, we have that ability, right, to do that.
So when do you like, when do I want mod?
Mod, I would say, if it's more so we like mod versus everything. What I would say, right? And then we like Mo versus we like a 2 out
Okay, so it's
Like,
like, when do they do
yeah,
something
when do they
that
do
would
something
require
that's
us to get into
to
some
get
sort
into
of?
something else,
Mhm.
right?
Okay,
And then so maze would be our way to F X Z Y. So maze was our way to be able to double, right, a stud number 1 if we wanted to. We felt like if you had stud at 2, right, this was a good double team, an over under on this cat. We would tell this cat, hey, listen, you're not in a run game. Stud is at 2, you ain't in a run game. So one of our games, we had a stud wide receiver, and we set a 3 technique to the stud receiver.
Okay.
So whoever it was would never be in the run conflict, right? So now now we're over under on him, and we have him bracketed.
Yep.
Right. We had pretty good success with that. If we ran maze, right? So like let's say stud was at number 1 here, right? We ran our maze here, right? We line our corner outside, right? We line our safety here, but not to snap the ball. We were over undering this cat here, right? Well, this guy would move up, right? And we would just lock that up. So he wouldn't be a part of the run fit. Now,
Right.
were we gap sound there? No, but this guy was enough to where we had to respect him.
yep, yep,
You know what I mean? Where we had to like take him away because we didn't know if we could guard him. So, and they had good QB that could sling the ball, and he was electric when the ball was in his hands and he would run by people.
mhm,
So just a couple different things that we've done in the quarter drills, and then that piece there, right? Right, you just got to know like your 3, right? Now you just got to teach different rules for your 3, right? Hey, when maze is called, right, you got to know like now you got to lock 3 with that piece. Because if you went, obviously out,
right,
you got to lock 3 instead of max 3. So, all right, with that piece.
Okay.
Mix. We had 2 good safety tacklers that were elite tacklers. We thought one year we had a star that wasn't such an elite guy at tackle, but he could cover. He was more of a DB. So mix is our way to get our safeties into the run fit. So now star is basically locked up on top, while our safety now, right, would become that run defender, apex defender. So mix and mod, these 2 are just switching up roles, right? Elite tackler, right? Great cover guy that we trust, right? So now he's in the box, and versus big run teams where they don't get the ball out to 2, like, and we have good tackler safeties. Like we'll make that change just like that. We got 2 elite tackler safeties coming down, like and protecting against anything slipping. So at least you got the fail safe of, hey, let's line up and play again of that piece. So then our S words, right? We got a lot of them too. So we have the first one is we call it stump. We got stress. We got stay. We got swipe. And the weird one is poach. Right? Or no,
Slug.
we call it, we changed it to
Slug.
slug, so it's post, right, and slug. So we have all these ways to play, and they're really not that difficult, right? And then, no, we got one more, right? We got, steel. Yes. Right, so in our passwords here, right, we've got many different types, 1, 2, 3, 1, right, fast forward alert here, right? So in this here, right, our Sam, right, our stump, our star, our corner, we would lock him or play a 1/3. Our safety's on top. These guys are playing palms.
Okay.
Okay, we're locked up here. They're playing palms, and we're locked up on the backside.
Wait. Your two linebackers are playing palms?
Star and Sam, yes. Like I said, this guy's got to be able to play. He like this guy's a linebacker,
Okay.
like, but we like cover guys here, right? Now, if we're gonna play a 12 personnel team, we'll probably have a bigger, thicker guy that we don't like playing palms with. You know what I mean? Like, and then we'll start to see packages and rotate in. You know, hey, big package is coming in. Get our star out. Get the other star in. You know what I mean? And then we have guys who rotate that piece for that. So we'll play palms there. And that'd be stump. If we got a team with like, let's say they're average at throwing the ball, decent, but they can run the ball like crazy, and we want to play more of zone coverage, right? We'll play stress, which puts him at a 1/3. He's curl. It's almost like 32 coverage. He's a curl flat. This guy will split 2 and 3, and then we'll play cover 2 on backside, so he has flat. Right, and then this guy up top, the boundary safety, will be on top. So we're playing. Essentially, it's 32 coverage, right? 3 on the field. And
What are you doing on that backside if it was stump? What's that backside safety
so
by
then,
default?
yeah. So then our buckets, right? So if it's on the backside, right, we can do a plethora of things there, right? So these are our textiles. All right. So we got rough, soft, hard, scratch. That's corner blitz. Pretty much, right? So our textile, so buckets. So our kids know, like, so one would be cover 2, so that would go hard. We've got a hard corner, right? We call it hard, right? Cover 2, right? Soft, right? We would play almost like, so it'd be cone, essentially what people call it cone, right? So we're gonna.
I'm not familiar with cone.
So cone is a way to double number 1 here. So this guy would be on top, corner would be on top, boundary safety would be coming down and underneath Robin. So that's cone. And then people, I think we played it once, we played Cone and Connie. So Cone and Connie are now a way to bring the will right into that piece too. Right? So that's a Cone. But we played it once. Rough would be invert cover 2. So if hard is straight cover 2, rough would be invert cover 2. So now, if we think our corner can't tackle our boundary safety, now we're just going to change it. Hey, listen, corner gonna be on top, boundary safety are coming down into the fit and play the flat. So different ways to play those things.
Were you usually going to go into a game saying this is how we're going to play it this game, or is it changing like crazy throughout the game?
No, this is how we're going to play it.
Yeah.
Right? So typically we watch film, we sit down. I think the first thing that we do when we come together here is we say, okay, let's build whatever opponent, week 1 opponent, let's build Wildcat. Right? Let's look at their tendencies, look what they like to do. We're going to replace St. Ignatius, they're the Wildcat. So we're going to yell Wildcat. And then at that point, right, we're going to start checking. Right? We're going to start checking all around. Things got to be going with those. Right?
Okay.
I like it. You know what I mean? I think it gives us a lot of different ways to attack people, to stop what they're good at, and just kind of building that around every week of who's their good player, right? What's our priority to stop? We're going to load the box. We're going to load the passing game, so it gives us that.
Yeah, I like that.
So
Now, if you're in 2x2 and that star and you're in mod, and that star to that side, what was I going to say? If he gets 2 out, right, to the flat.
Yep.
Now you had
So
said,
you're talking post wheel, right?
well, here was
Post
my
wheel's
first
something,
question.
yeah.
Here's my first question. Because you were saying in there about some spot drops, hash drops, was that only in your cover 3 world?
Cover 3 world.
Okay, so then how is he taught to defend that flat
So
in quarters?
in quarters, right? So essentially, so his rules are he has all of number 2 out, all of number 2 out. As soon as number 2 crosses vertically, his pocket is no longer his, and then he's just going to play the flat, let things bring you down out of
Yeah.
like the curl.
Yeah.
Right, so ball thrown, come down out of it.
So if I'm star,
Yep.
and I see, right, the quarterback heads.
Yep.
What's my first move? Am I opening where?
Eyes will snap to 2.
Okay.
Hands will try
Eyes
to get
to
on
2.
2, depending on, he's not going to like chase
Yeah.
number 2, right? I think one of the big things here is like, you talk about quarters coverage and the little intricacies about,
Mhm.
what you do, right? Obviously splits are manipulated,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if splits were normal and this was just day 1 splits, right? We're at 5 yards. Here's our star. Sorry, it should be number 2. Right, here's our star. Our safety is at 12 yards, and that's day 1 concepts, right? But as they start to move, right, 2 start to become close, right? 5 yards isn't our indicator anymore. Now you got to move up to 4 and 3, right? Which if they move up to 4 and 3, we got to move up to 10, 9, depending on how close. So their split is based off him. So now he's starting to get closer because obviously he can pin easier.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then obviously there's a lot more space to lose him on the out. So we got to help him with that piece. So there's a lot of the intricacies of teaching that. But this field guy's got to be the guy who adjusts his splits as he adjusts his split based off number 2 because he's an apex defender. So if we stay at 5, we're going to get bullied to the edge. Get to the edge real quick. We won't be able to set it. So and then he won't be able to get down and play a run fit. His run fit's outside the team.
Right.
So yeah.
And then what those safeties will kind of are they like a flat-footed read?
Flat foot read, like you got to get backpedaling out of the safeties, and
Yeah.
it takes forever.
Yeah.
It takes forever. Like even when we'll have seniors that are really good players, they'll feel the pressure of a fast guy, and they'll start creeping. Now
Yeah.
sometimes if they're that fast, we say, hey man, like we want to obviously we want to scooch. We want a slow scooch, right, to be able to come downhill. But if you feel like you're faster than the cat, you better flat foot, and you can play essentially catch man. Obviously he's getting a little bit of a running start, but obviously once he breaks that hip, he now knows he is mine, period. And that's his indicator. He creases Star's hip, he's mine, he's my man everywhere he goes at that point.
How much do you guys worry about or think about or try to disguise what you're doing?
A lot. That's kind of what. So we had a really nice way, a very simple way this year of disguising some things. So obviously we bring a lot, we drop a lot, and now we're starting to get into like, let's just throw a plain old mask, right? Nothing that's showing. Everybody got the coverage, right? And we would just say, hey, apex defender, go show. See that's on top and walk down with them, right? Snap the ball. We're going to start walking back. So we do a little bit of that with our stuff and move around. And I think like people start to see, like we bring enough corner blitzes, right? If we're playing cover 2 over here, you know what I mean? Our cover's starting to, they're calling it out. And one of my clips, like our corner playing cover 2 starts walking in like he's bringing it. You see the receiver and the QB make eye contact and immediately throw us a pick. You know, I mean, just, he boom, so back, he caught, and just, it was like a robot. He just threw it right to us. It didn't, like, oh crap, he bailed out of it. Didn't even read it, just threw it right at us.
So is that something that you could give the kids freedom to do, or is there?
In cover 2, yeah.
Okay.
Now, freedom to do, no. Because there's some times kids will, like that particular play was we were playing a trap cover 2, and he was just demonstrating a corner blitz, but it was a field blitz that was coming. And he just did it on his own. I was like, that's so smart, man.
Yeah.
You are cunning to get that done. And it was interesting. Then we started like building stuff off of that.
Yeah.
You could just see immediately. Like we bring enough corner blitzes where people are like, hey, he's blitzing, he's coming, and we got to check out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it's kind of like a cat and mouse game. Like we just want to keep them honest.
Right.
Like, we just can't bring the same thing over and over again, and QBs are just catch and throw. And,
Yeah.
But now they have to catch, look, read, slow it down. So
That's a lot.
yeah, helps us. But yeah, so like we gotta. So quarters takes us a while to major in.
Yeah.
But if you know one thing, you should start to progress into knowing them all really quickly.